Sashimi. Nigiri. Chirashi. Tamaki. Oh. I don't even like sushi. The following podcast contains spoilers for Jiro Dreams of Sushi. You've been warned!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glen Button, along with your host, apparently, Jiro Uno.
Yes!
Yeah. Or Ono. I think it's Ono. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's a white college girl going, yeah!
Yes! Let's make some tuna!
How you doing, bud?
I'm not bad. I'm a little sleepy. I'm not gonna lie about it.
I feel like you're always sleepy.
I am. I am a hardworking boy. There was some kids that threw cheese on the theater walls, and I had
Those bastards.
I had to clean it today.
Did you execute them?
Well, I legally, yes, I did. Of course, but I was dealing with that a lot, and I was up on a ladder cleaning. And
Wait, are kids off today, or was it?
Well, I didn't say when they threw it up there.
That's true.
So
That's
that
true.
Is, let's just go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just up in high places, scrubbing, and also holding. I had because the hose for like this carpet cleaner is like really short on the carpet cleaner machine, so I had to carry the machine up in the air while balancing and scrubbing at the. I'm tuckered out. It's as easy as it gets.
It's a sad little boy.
But before I was tuckered out, I actually did watch a couple movies, my man.
What?
That's right. And I didn't post them on the Insta, so you wouldn't have even known.
I know.
That's crazy, right?
Yes.
So we started out with a nice little, just an easy rom-com. You and I watched together called John Wick 4.
Yes. Very romantic.
There is a review up on the YouTubes for that if you guys want more information about that. It's John Wick. I feel like you guys know what we're going to say about it, but find out actually what we said about it.
Yes.
After that, I've been doing a little bit of thrift shopping, and like the last couple months. And in the thrift shopping, I always go, and I should go to the DVD section, and I try to find all the DVDs that strike some sort of nostalgia for me. And I've been making a pile. I've told you a few. I've even sent you a few pictures of the ones that I've grabbed. So this most last week, I found Secondhand Lions. And I picked that bitch up like a motherfucker.
Is that Michael Caine, Haley Joel Osment?
Yep. And so that one was a big one because in my household, at least my mother's household, it was on one of those premium channels. I can't remember if it was Stars or HBO or any of those, but it was always on one of those channels. And anytime it was on, we always watched it. My mom and I loved that movie. Still holds up. It's a great movie, and I still love it. It's fantastic.
I actually haven't seen it. I've wanted to because I'm a big fan of Haley Joel Osment, and I kind of want him to have a comeback year.
I really want him to as well.
Not that he's gone anywhere. He's just kind of
He was in the Boys very briefly.
Yeah. He's done small things here and there, but I want him to have a mainstream comeback. Unless he doesn't want that, then I respect that. So.
I forgot how kind of fast this movie went, how quick it kind of got to its plot in the beginning. It kind of jumps into it. I thought, half an hour it would get into the plot. No, he gets in there in 10, 15 minutes easy.
Well, there you go.
Oh, goddamn. Oh, if it was maybe half an hour or maybe 15 minutes longer, I would have been very happy. Very almost perfect in ways, but maybe one day you'll see. Who knows?
Yes.
After that, I had watched 13 Ghosts, which is just a product of the 2000s horror movies that came out back and forth. Just there was tons of them. This one holds a lot of nostalgia for fucking almost everybody who shouldn't have been watching this movie when they were a kid.
I'm assuming myself. This is the 2001 remake.
Yeah, the Tony Shalhoub and Matthew Lillard.
And also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the older sister from Even Stevens is in, isn't she? Or is that something else she's in?
I'm pretty sure that's not her.
Okay. I'm thinking of something else.
You talking about Kim Possible?
No. Kim Possible's in it too, I guess. And 13 Ghosts, but
I don't think she's
Romano, who plays Ren Stevens in Even Stevens, she's in a horror movie from like the early 2000s, and I can't remember what it is.
I don't think it's this one.
Yeah, I get it mixed up.
The chick who was in this was Shannon Elizabeth, and she was in like American Pie and a couple other movies. So it couldn't have been her, not this one. But this is, like I was saying, I grabbed this as well from the nostalgic. I was like, oh my God, Secondhand Lions and 13 Ghosts. I'm going fucking nuts. This is crazy. Matthew Lillard is like the prime reason that this movie is as good as it is. Yeah. He's so sassy in all his movies, and this is just like one of the sassiest ones, and I fucking love it. Because he pretty much makes this movie as enjoyable as it is. Is the plot good? Probably not. Like it's mostly just nostalgia.
I remember watching it when I was probably 16 or so, and thinking it's not good, but I enjoyed it.
Like I was reading the synopsis on the back, or no, I looked up a trailer for this before I actually watched. I'm like, I gotta see what this was like, what this was advertised like. I finished the trailer. I'm like, how the fuck did somebody come up with the concept for this after watching the trailer? I'm like, how do you just think of that? How do you sit down? And then the person I was watching it with was like, drugs. I'm like, well, that makes points.
I think it is based off, there's a 1960s film called 13 Ghosts. And I think it's a remake, the Tony Shalhoub one, but I could be incorrect about that. But yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Tony Shalhoub knows probably.
But after that, I watched a movie that I know is a remake from a very older movie, House on Haunted Hill.
Yes.
I don't know if you've watched that one or not, but
there's been like 1,000 remakes of that.
Yeah,
because it's based off of a book. Haunting of Hill House is actually based off that same book. So yeah, there's a shit ton of remakes for that.
So after I had watched 13 Ghosts, I'm like, there's another movie that was in the like 2000s era of horror movies that is just, it's there, and I couldn't think of it for like literally 30 seconds. I said that, I'm like, oh, I can't think of the name, and then I said House, Haunting on Hill House. What is it? Oh, fuck. And then I looked it up, and there it was, and I'm like, I gotta watch this movie, because the main reason I knew this or remembered this movie isn't because it was a good horror movie or anything. It was because there was that Marilyn Manson cover of Sweet Dreams, and it was like in this, and it was primarily just the beginning and end of this movie. It was just Sweet Dreams are made of, and oh my God. So I got halfway through that before I was like, I need to go to bed, because this is too much horror for one night, and I'm just tuckered the hell out. And then after that, I watched Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which we shall get into in a minute. But Mike, what did you get into this week?
I'm going to try not to take as long as I did last week. I was putting up the timestamps for last week's episode, and I was like, Jesus, I talked about movies for 13 minutes before we got past it.
You did watch 13 movies, so it makes sense.
So I'll try to go through these a little faster. The last one I watched last week was a documentary by Ingmar Bergman called Pharaoh Document. He followed that up 10 years later with Pharaoh Document 1979, in which he kind of reevaluated his first documentary, interviewed some of the same people. It was really interesting, especially they in the first one from 1970, he interviewed a bunch of kids and then teenagers, and then 10 years later he interviewed them as adults, and like their perception of the island that they lived on completely changed. Like at first they hated it, and then they loved it and thought about it like, fondly. So I thought that was interesting. Really good documentary. Then this is going to sound conceited, but it's really just so I can learn from my own mistakes. I like to rewatch some of my own films, not just because I think I'm great, but because I like watching it to see what I would do different now.
It's a little constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly. So I rewatched The Plea, my film, from 2021 that we filmed in the mountains during the pandemic, the mountains of Pennsylvania. So yeah, rewatch that. The Plea and my film Eugene versus Humanity. I'm trying to get on YouTube so people can watch it more easily, because the website for our the film distribution company has been kind of wonky lately. So hopefully I'll be able to announce that those are on YouTube soon. But for now, no way to watch them unless you go to Kismet Media and it works for some reason. So not to knock the website, but every time I go there, it's not working. My computer could also just be shit. It could work for everyone else.
Who knows?
So who knows? Then with my boy, my baby child, I watched Shrek. I think I told you about this.
You did.
We watched Shrek, and he was laughing anytime Shrek was on screen. He loved Shrek.
And then you and I talked about which were the best ones and all that.
Yeah, it goes 2, 1, 4, 3.
And I never watched 4, I think.
I only watched 4 because I worked at a movie theater when it came out. But 3 was awful, and I almost didn't watch 4. But then I watched 4, and I was like, this is a lot better than 3. But yeah, so yeah, that's Shrek. Then I watched John Wick Chapter 4. We have a review for that up on the YouTubes. You can check out our thoughts on that. Then I watched another Ingmar Bergman movie, Through a Glass Darkly. This is about a woman with schizophrenia. It was very well done. I think it won Best International Feature or Best Foreign Film back then in 1961 when it came out. And it's a really, really well made movie. I highly suggest people check that out. Then I watched another Ingmar Bergman movie because I'm still working my way through the collection of his films that I have.
Cranking them out.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it done this year. I've had that thing for 4 years, and up until this year, I had only watched 7 of them. So I watched one called Winter Light, which is about a priest on a remote island. I guess it's not a remote island, but it's like a rural area. He's a priest and he's a pastor. He's not a priest. There is a difference for those of you who don't know. Priests can't get married, pastors can. So he's a pastor in a remote area of Sweden, and he's like the only church within like 100 miles or whatever, but he's lost his faith. So it's kind of like him trying to go through the motions to not have anyone else lose their faith and whatnot. It's very interesting. I actually loved it a lot, so highly suggest people check that out. Then with my boy, my baby child, we watched Hercules.
What a classic.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Disney movies this week. Love Hercules. You know, I'm not going to talk too much about Hercules. It's Hercules. Then I invited you, but you didn't want to go, but I understand why.
It's not that I didn't want to. It's that I had
other things going on.
Other things.
Yeah. I went and saw Florence Pugh's latest film, directed by Zach Braff, A Good Person. Film overall is okay. There's some really strong moments, some cringy moments. But overall, I would say...
Zach Braff directed that?
Yeah, Zach Braff directed it. I think they were still dating when he directed it. But, you know, Zach Braff is one of those directors you're either going to hate or have no opinion of. Like, I don't know anyone that loves Zach Braff as a director. I like his movies, but like I don't love them. And this was no exception. I liked it. I didn't love it. But Florence Pugh's really great in it, as she is in everything. Morgan Freeman's really great in it. Great acting. Writing kind of lacked a little bit. And yeah. Check that out if you want to.
All right.
Then me, my boy, my baby child, we watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He didn't like it because that's one of the more scary.
It is a more mature one, yeah.
Because it's more realistic than anything else. Like lions fighting, whatever, but humans being horrible to each other, that's pretty realistic. So we watched like half an hour of it before he was like, "I'm done. Let's watch The Lion King." I went back and rewatched it by myself because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I really do love that movie. So I did watch the whole thing. But me and my boy, after that, finished The Lion King or watched The Lion King.
Yes.
He had seen it before, but he likes it. So we watched that.
Did you ever watch the second one?
No.
It might be nostalgia, but I liked the second one.
I've seen parts of it because when I was in middle school, like towards the end of the summer, my music teacher, when, the time of school when no one's doing anything except for putting on movies, she put on The Lion King too. So I've seen parts of it, but I didn't watch it all the way through. And everyone was just kind of dicking around anyway, so it's not like I was really paying attention.
As they do.
Yeah, but then I watched Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which we'll get into in a minute, and then the last film I watched today, a horror film starring Sandra Oh, called Uma, which is a film about this woman who was abused by her Korean mother. It matters. Like the whole thing's about Korean tradition and everything.
Yeah.
And so she finds out her mother died. And her mother put a curse on her and everything, so it's just kind of weird like that. It's a really weird movie. It has 6 opening sequences, which is weird. If anyone sees it, they'll know what I mean. It feels like they didn't know what to do for a credit sequence. Shot a bunch of them, realized that they were running short on time, so they just put all the credit sequences in there, but without credits. If that makes sense. So yeah, it's weird. Overall, it's not a great movie. There are some good parts about it, but I would skip it if I were you. But that's all I watched. So yeah, let's get into Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
今仕事しててこの年になって完璧だとは思っていないからね。
親さんまだ悔いがあるからおかしいよ。で、せがれがかわいそうだから早く譲ってあげてって。
ずっと親さんがやっていければそれでいいんですけれども、そうはいかないですから、いつかは交代しなきゃいけないですから。
そこまで頂上まで行けば完璧かもわかんないけど、じゃあこの頂上はどこかっていうとわかんないわけですよ。
抜いてやっと並んだ。そのぐらいやっぱり親父の影響ってそんなもん。
やったが夢だったっていうのがありますよ。これやったらいいかなって夢でしょあれ。
A documentary on 85-year-old sushi master Jiro Ono, his renowned Tokyo restaurant, and his relationship with his son and eventual heir, Yoshikazu.
Yes, directed by David Gelb, starring Jiro Ono, or featuring Jiro Ono, Yoshikazu Ono, Masahiro Yamamoto, Daisuke Nakazama, and others. I don't want to butcher their names any more than I butchered these 4 names. But yes, this came, of course, up on the streaming roulette, and we picked it because it seemed pretty chill.
It did.
And
he looked super humble. And
yes.
in fact, he was super frightening this whole time watching it.
Yes, he was, and I mean this with the utmost respect, kind of full of himself, not in a horrible way. It was kind of endearing how he knew. It was more he was passionate about what he did, knew he was good at it, and wasn't humble about that, which is not, knocking his character.
Yeah.
It's just, he was blunt. He was like, yeah, I'm really good.
Yeah, I'm fucking great.
Yeah. So yeah, this was made in 2011. I think it was nominated for an Oscar, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that for Best Documentary. I hate that IMDb changed around everything. Let's see. Okay, so it was not nominated for Best Documentary. I was mistaken about that. But, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was.
Yeah.
But, the whole thing's about the best sushi restaurant in the entire world. So they claim. I don't know anything about sushi. I don't even like sushi, I can't.
It was mostly Japan, how it's one of the most renowned sushi restaurants.
And my guess is Japan has the best sushi restaurant in general.
Yeah, it was generally the most renowned in Japan and heard of round world.
Yeah, but it's a 3 Michelin star restaurant. Michelin star is the highest of honors for fancy dining or high dining, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I was shocked to find out that this restaurant was in a Subway.
Yeah.
Subway, especially in the United States, is usually reserved for fast food or little, shitty food trucks. At least in my experience, I haven't been to that many Subways, so I could be completely off on that.
Yeah, we've also got it's America, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. We don't take as much care of our public transport as other countries do. But yeah, that was just surprising to me that it was in the Subway, this very fancy restaurant where the minimum is $230 a plate. That shocked me in the beginning when that guy came in and he was like, "Oh, we start off at 30,000 yen, but it changes."
30,000 yen.
Which
so I was like,
Yeah, I checked, and that's $230. And I was like, Jesus Christ, in a Subway, no less. That's impressive. So it was really cool seeing how different restaurants are, in other countries that actually care about their public transport.
Yeah, I mean, it even makes sense. Like, as soon as you get off work, you probably, should just get right to eat, and then you head home after that, or the other way around, or you want to eat something before you go into work. So, I mean, it makes sense that there, would be good dining in Subways and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're over here just not good at, doing that.
Yeah, we don't even have an Olive Garden in a Subway.
Yep.
You have to go above ground for that. Olive Gardens aren't even fancy.
Subway in a Subway. That's about it.
You know what? 100%, and that's only because they could make the pun. It's a Subway. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought it was a very, even though he was kind of intense and frightening, it was a more or less relaxing documentary.
Yeah.
Just seeing passionate people work is just fun for me to do. I don't care about sushi. I don't even like sushi. Every single sushi I've had to like fight to keep down. Not because it's like overly disgusting. I just don't like cold meat in general. And I know not all sushi's cold, but like I'm also not a big seafood person. So it's everything that I don't like mixed into food. And that's on me. That's not on food, obviously. I'm not hating on anyone for loving sushi.
Have you ever had tofu? A little off topic, but
I have talked to people who say that tofu really depends on what it's paired with, because it absorbs the flavor of what it's with.
Or how it's made.
Yes, what I have had tofu in, I have not liked. Mainly my experience with tofu is people using it as a meat substitute, not telling me that they're using a meat substitute. So when I bite into it expecting to be beef or chicken or whatever, it's tofu. And when you bite into tofu thinking it might be meat, it's not good. For the love of God, vegans, if you want to share with people how good your food is, tell them what it is. Don't try to trick them, because that will never work.
So I had told you last week that I was thinking about getting sushi like this last weekend that we're obviously doing the podcast this past weekend. We actually ended up going to a ramen shop, and instead of doing the sushi, we decided, let's get the ramen, but also I want to try something different. I want to try tofu, and it was a little bit more gelatinous, I guess is a good word for it, than I expected it to be. I guess there's different ways you can make it. Again, this isn't a cooking podcast or anything. I'm just trying to
I'm trying
to segue real quick. I'm trying to make it quick. Tofu, like you said, it needs to be paired with something good. And it was for the fact it was good. But the funny story that I have is the person that I went with, they tried it and they almost gagged, and it was fucking kind of hilarious, and I felt bad.
Had they had tofu before, or was that their first time?
They had not had tofu like that before. Because it was like, imagine like just egg whites. It was kind of like that texture.
No, yeah. No, thank you.
I don't blame them, but like me, I'll eat fucking anything. I'm a garbage disposal.
Yeah. I'm big on textures. Everything I dislike, with the exception of mustard and pickles, is 100% of texture. Mustard and pickles are the only thing I don't like because of the taste. And Brussels sprouts. I hate Brussels sprouts. The taste of Brussels sprouts.
It would have been a big texture thing for me if I don't pretty much already swallow food whole. So so like I took a bite, and I'm like, I'm not biting this gelatinous thing. I just gobbled it. I was like,
no wonder you're constipated all the time.
Amen. It's I gotta start working this thing out.
Yeah.
But anyway, besides that, tofu. Now we're moving back to sushi. Where did I even segue from that?
I was talking about how I don't like sushi, and then you asked if I had tofu.
You don't like sushi. I like sushi a lot. I'm not a connoisseur. I don't fucking know everything about sushi. But I do really enjoy going to sushi. Me and Smiley McGee, Zach, we actually used to, and this is a fucking, anybody who's a 5-star restaurant sushi maker, sorry I'm about to say this, we used to get Wegmans sushi all the time. Like every week we would go and get Wegmans sushi and just get lunch together, and it'd be
You're just
fantastic.
a man of culture.
Hey, I am what I am. I'm a cheap son of a bitch too, so I'm not paying $230 for sushi. Maybe once for sure.
Yeah. It's like me. I bought a $60 steak on my honeymoon because I had the opportunity to. And I can tell you this: $60 steak, I don't care what anyone says, just as good as a $20 steak.
100%.
There's no need. $20 is the max a steak should cost.
Yeah,
So-
I'm willing to do anything as far as that goes once. As far as food, I'm like willing to do anything once. But after that, I'm like, I'm not doing this more than fucking once in my lifetime. But backtracking back to what you were saying about how you like just seeing people being like super passionate and just watching documentaries and stuff about like this. It was completely awesome to like just watch somebody like build their craft, watch them make something, know that just by the like shots of him just doing it with his hands, just all the experience he just has. You could just see by his hands all of the years he's put into it and just how easily he can make these things.
Yeah, it's all methodical. It's all muscle memory. There's no thought behind it.
He doesn't even have to look at it. He would just know.
Yeah.
And I think it it always makes me feel like absolute shit when watching movies like or documentaries like this and just seeing people be like find their profession. Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't have anything that I'm like more than okay at.
Yeah.
Like more than good at.
Yeah.
But I love watching people being able to find their profession and find their hobby that they just excel at.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like we were saying earlier, this guy oozes confidence as far as his job. He knows he's good at it. He's great at it. He got 3 Michelin stars, which is awesome. And he's even got his family doing it. He's got his kid. He's got his other kid working for him or under him. Eventually, he would inherit the restaurant that he's at now. And then the younger son actually owns a restaurant.
Yeah.
It does the same thing, has a sushi thing.
And I love that that's such a Japanese culture thing where they asked the oldest son if he was jealous that his younger son was owning a restaurant, and he was like, no, it's just expected of me that I'll take over this once he retires. Like it's not a big deal because like in the U.S. that would be a huge like soft or hard thing to talk about with someone because they would be jealous about it. So I thought he handled it with such grace. And they talk about how much he works to the point when they were kids they thought there was a strange man sleeping in their house when he would actually be home. And I would say I'm a hard worker for things I care about. Like if it comes to filmmaking or something, I have no problem working like a 20-hour shift if I have to for multiple days in a row. But it's the thing with me is that I do not see the point of working on something that you don't care about, which to some people might make, especially in the U.S., might seem lazy because everyone's like, oh, you got to work hard at everything you do. It's like, why do I have to work hard at something I don't want to do?
Yeah,
like that's a waste of my energy. But regardless, the hours that he put in his at the time 85 years, I looked up and it seems like at 97 he's still running the restaurant.
He's still going. It's crazy.
So he's been doing that for so long, and I think they say he only closes on holidays and will be gone for funerals, but then will come back later.
And he doesn't even want to go on holidays.
Yeah,
he just
like
does.
he wants to work that much at it, and I understand that for him that's more of a love for sushi than it is like I want to make ends meet. Like they seem comfortable, so I don't think at this point it's a for money thing. I think he is passionate about it, and that's what's cool about it. Like how hard he's working for something he's passionate about. If he didn't like it, it'd be more sad.
It scares me when people work like that, though, because outside of work, I'm just super curious what they're like. This dude worked not 97, he probably straight, almost 85 years straight.
Yeah.
Well, all right, he was 12 then, so maybe 80 years almost straight working sushi.
Yeah.
Just nonstop. It scares me when people are like that because I'm like, what? I get the passion, I get the love, I get the craft, I get all of that, but holy shit, do you just not become a robot at that point?
I think you have to, because like the greatness of life is in between when you're working on stuff, even I don't want to get like super hippy dippy-ish, but like when when we were like hunter gatherers,
Yeah.
the hunting and gathering was not part of the anyone's personality.
Yeah.
It was with what they did in between the hunting and gathering that built society. Doing the stuff for survival was not what ended up creating a community. It was the getting together around a fire, singing, telling jokes, telling stories. That was the stuff that like built the community and separated the humans from the animals. And so I think at some point you do have to become a robot. He seems happy, so I'm not going to say that he's got a sad life, but it's just, you're
this
right,
is
it
coming
is
from
intimidating.
me who has no absolute, profession, doesn't have a career. So I can't talk shit. I just enjoy life too much to settle down on just being like, I'm going to work this 9 to 5 back and forth, just actually 7 days a week. But
The way I can look at it, I look at him
it's not
doing
my
sushi.
walk of life, so I
Yes.
can't talk in his shoes.
Yeah. I look at him making sushi as how I look at making films. Like, even though I don't work, 18-hour days every day doing it, every single day I'm doing something to further my film career for at least an hour a day. So I understand that aspect. But yeah, he definitely takes it to a whole other level, working a full day every single day. And to the point where he doesn't know what to do when he's not working. And I know you know someone like that. I personally don't know someone like that, and it's exhausting even just thinking about it, honestly.
Yeah, it's funny. What I really liked a lot about this documentary is how much it showed like attention to detail to everything. Not only them making the sushi, but him watching people eat the sushi and him kind of gathering their characteristics and how if they're left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he's left-handed just like me.
Yeah. The elitists over here. Watch out.
Yeah.
Between him watching people eat, and then we'll talk about this more in a second, but I'll just kind of score through everything. The fish market and how they go into deciding for the fish, and like going into the people that pick the dealers for the foods. I like how they went into detail about every little category. They showed the workers in the back that's behind Jiro, and it's not all just him.
That was my favorite part, honestly.
Yeah, he's an absolute unit when you see him, but he compliments the people around him, and that it's not all just him. It's the people behind him supporting him through it all. I liked how much they talked about the oldest son. That was really cool, and how he's how obviously eventually he's going to inherit it, but
and the reveal at the end that he was actually the one making the sushi when they got the Michelin stars.
Yeah, for the Michelin stars.
I did a little fist pump for him when that happened. Like, I love that.
It was like a huge plot twist. It was like,
because the entire time they're like, is he going to be as good? Well, guess what, motherfucker? He's the reason they got Michelin stars.
Yeah. Which is actually, I'm still talking about how attention to detail everything was, and that's what made it great. But it was crazy to see after the movie finished that they got their Michelin stars revoked because they're no longer like open to the public.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I looked it up right after. It's no longer open to the public, as they can no longer be recognized as open to the general public because they have to reserve, obviously reservations through a luxury hotel. Yeah. I guess that's probably near, like in the section where they are at, instead of just like calling in and just being a normal person. Yeah. But I know their reservations were already like, oh, you have to reserve like a month ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So I feel like eventually it was probably inevitable, especially after the documentary. It was probably a little more booming too.
They probably got a huge boom out of it.
So it's crazy. It's crazy that the dude is still alive, kicking, and is still making sushi. Mm-hmm. And I think it's even crazier that the son might never inherit the fucking thing because he might die before his old man.
Yeah, in that sense, it's kind of sad. But, he seems content, so...
Nah, he seems fine. I mean, they're hard workers.
Yeah. You can tell the son knows that he has what it takes. And honestly, oftentimes that's more than needed. And I would assume that Jiro lets him know that he has the utmost confidence in him. It's just he's not ready to retire for himself, not that he doesn't trust his son.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he even said that at the end.
Yeah.
He's like, when I become like senile or like too senile, or when the customers think I'm gross, like he's like, then I'll put the gloves down. But until then, speaking of gloves, I feel like do you think they wore gloves to kind of keep the germs and stuff off their hands to make sure they didn't get scratched or anything when on the off times? I don't know if that's
Probably.
a Japanese culture thing. Like, I know the masks, if they're sick, they'll wear masks.
I know trying to be clean and germ free is a heavily not just Japanese. I think it's just a Asian culture thing.
Yeah.
But his gloves were fancy, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was him protecting his hands.
Yeah, there's so much attention to detail on everything, and it's really what I liked about it. Obviously, the story of it all too, and how he came from nothing. He worked very hard after the war, and was able to get his own restaurant, and he's got his comeuppance, and he's doing great. He's still fucking alive.
Yeah,
which is awesome. I just genuinely really enjoyed this thing more than I thought to be honest, and the runtime really helped it a lot.
Yeah. And I love that on multiple occasions they said that they would prefer to lose money than to lose quality.
Yeah.
And I honestly am a big advocate of that. I wish less people were about profits than they were quality, because that's how you get everything from like mediocre food with a shit ton of preservatives that are not good for your body, to even the quality of Marvel movies now.
Yeah.
They're more about quality or quantity and money over quality, and it's something that I wish this world focused more on, because it definitely used to. It was about until people realized you could make more money with shittier quality products, anything from cars to houses to food. I feel like the economy is just. It's gone uphill a little bit, but it's gonna come crashing down at some point if it hasn't already started. So I just love that. One thing I didn't expect is that they would start talking about overfishing.
I was actually going to get into that too.
Yeah,
because when this documentary came out, funnily enough, my senior year, which is when I graduated, 2011, I did a report on tuna, like, and overfishing, and how in like the next 10 years, like, so 2021, it would be like very, very dangerous to be like, so it's still, to this day, it's still a huge problem. Now, obviously, this was in 2011, so this is in 2021. They'd probably still talk about the same thing, but they made it like a huge thing in this movie, this documentary, to talk about it, and how worried Yoshikazu was about it. Like, it was like his primary. He's like, this shit's fucked.
Yeah. He was talking about how he could go to Japanese fish markets, and it's just becoming harder to find high quality fish. It was unexpected and a welcomed surprise for them to talk about that, because I do think that it is a important topic that people don't really realize. It's not just this endless gathering of fish that you can keep doing. You got to do it smart.
Well, it even shows their passion and love for not only making the sushi, but the fish themselves. They don't want to. Obviously, they're going to get run out of business if there's two, but they want good quality. They want long-lasting fish that have healthy lives, and then we could bring them in. Like he talked about it pretty in detail about how he feels about it.
Waiting till they're 100 kilograms before bringing them in.
It was really cool.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be more regulations with fishing, more regulations with everything, honestly. And if you are a person who's against regulations because you think people will ultimately do the right thing, you're naive as fuck. Yeah. People will always pick money over the world because they have a god complex. And but you know what? There's a positive in all this, and that is that Japanese fish auctions seem like a shit ton of fun.
They do.
Like I was jamming out to them calling and ringing the bells. I was like, yeah. I don't know what you're saying, but I dig it.
I'm into it.
Yeah, I would love to just go witness a Japanese fish auction because it just seems like fun. Mm-hmm. And yeah, sorry for that segue.
No need.
I was just thinking about it.
No, it was really good about all aspects of the movie. It was just genuinely couldn't ask for a better thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You got
I
anything
do,
else?
however, I do wish, I just thought of it now, I do wish they talked about the younger brother a little bit more.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Now,
I guess they
obviously,
were
this
just focusing on this restaurant.
Yeah, it's obviously a movie about Jiro and, you know, what his eventual heir, Yoshikazu. But I wish they would have talked about him more and how they kind of acquired the restaurant and but put him in place instead of the older brother.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you think he would have put the older brother in there instead of the younger, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I took that as a Japanese culture thing because they said that like it's expected of the older brother to take place of the father.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jiro wanted him as close as possible so that he could get his skills up more. Not to say that he doesn't trust his younger son's skills, but because of Japanese culture, he was like, I need him to be as close to me as possible.
Yeah. If he ever does pass away, he needs the same amount of experience, pretty much. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
But would have been nice to see a little bit more talked about the younger brother, Takashi, I think his name was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think that was really the only real flaw with this. An hour and 20 minutes, it's a super easy watch. Very informative about a lot of stuff. You can see the love and passion within all of it. Just very nice film. I do love that he's like, I feel like most average Japanese people would just be like, very respectful, you know, to their parents and stuff like that. Every time he talked about his dad, he's like, yeah, fuck that guy, man. Why am I even here? Like at his tombstone. And then the son was like, don't talk ill to your parents right in front of them. I mean, that just goes to show you
how much that his dad probably abused him. Where like even in Japanese culture, where you know, emotional abuse isn't even talked about, that they still respect their parents even through emotional abuse. So I just took that as his parents doing like abusing the shit out of him or neglecting the shit out of him because he said they didn't do anything for me. So yeah, it was refreshing in a way and also sad, but refreshing to see that it's not, you know, just your stereotypical, oh, he was my father even though he stopped taking care of me at 7 years old or whatever it was.
It also made me sad that the kids wanted to go to college, and he was just like, "Nah, you're gonna work in the sushi restaurant with me."
That was the one thing I didn't like. I hate it. I even hate it. Granted, there are a lot of family companies out there that ask their sons before or their kids before taking over, but then there's also a lot that just like push it on them. They're like, "Oh, this is gonna be your company one day." What if it's not what they want?
Yoshikazu was like, he was really into speed. He was really into just fast things, and like he could have done a lot of things with that.
Could have been an engineer. Could have been a racer.
Yeah,
could have been
literally anything. Obviously, he couldn't be, you know, a fighter pilot because his vision, he couldn't really fly. I'm the same. I used to want to be like a jet driver, as they say in Glen brain, but a pilot. But my eyes are too bad for all that. But that was fucking years ago before I actually cared. But yeah, it was kind of just really sad. They were like, yeah, I kind of wanted to go to college and do these things, and he's like,
nope.
Do you? I'm sure it might have been like, you know, you don't really have a solid
plan,
foresight on what you want to do. So how about you just work here until you figure it out? And then they were probably like, whatever. Obviously, we don't know their lives. So.
Yeah, it could have been lost in translation too. He could have. It could have been more of like, hey, try this out for a little bit, see if you like it. If not, you can go to college. It could have been something like that.
But in the end, they seemed to. Obviously, I feel like they wouldn't stick around if they didn't care for what they were doing. So and And Yoshikazu got a 3-star Michelin, so he's really fucking good at his job, and
Yeah.
he showed a lot of care for what he was doing and passion. So it's not my life, it's his, you know.
Yeah.
But power to the man. He's killing it out there.
None of them seem sad, so that's all
Yeah.
that matters. But yeah, that's really all I got to say.
Same here.
Yeah. So that does it for our review for Jiro Dreams of Sushi. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. This was Streaming Roulette. I'll just go first.
Yeah.
I think it's a really well-made documentary. I'm actually surprised it wasn't nominated for Best Documentary at the Oscars the year it came out. It was well shot, incredibly edited, told a very calming story in an informative way. Didn't know that sushi was street food to start off. That was something I found interesting. But yeah, it was just a really well-made, interesting documentary about something I really don't care about because I don't like sushi. So yeah, I say it absolutely goes on the shelf because for an hour and 20 minutes, it made me care.
Yeah. Same here. I definitely want that bad boy on the shelf. Documentaries, they're really hit or miss. This was a definite hit. Very informative, very visual, very passionate. It was just really good. Like even like informative to the aspect where every time they showed a sushi that he made, like they showed what the name was in Japanese and like just overall what it's called. So it was like super just genuinely good. And now it definitely makes me want sushi. But I'm way too hungry at the moment to just want sushi. So one day.
Yeah. So Jiro Dreams of Sushi does go on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our assignment for next week. We have a little bit of news. We're taking a little time off because we're doing the Stonies. Stonies. So the next quote-unquote episode that will be released is going to be the nominations for the this year's Stonies. And then 2 weeks after that is going to be the actual Stoney ceremony. And then I'm going to be in Iceland, so we're going to push it back a little bit further. And then on May 8th is when our next regularly scheduled episode will come out. But yeah, check out the Stonies before that because they'll be posted both here and YouTube. So yeah, check those out. But I will tell you what movie we're going to be watching for the May 8th episode. And of course, this year I have been having Glen pick out of a list. Pick a number between 1 and 32, Glen.
Are you ready?
Yes.
17.
Thank you for waiting. Thank you for waiting that time, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
17? Okay. 1 second. Okay. So I forgot to mention that there are 2 bombs in there.
Oh, good.
Like ones that I know are going to be horrible. I keep forgetting to mention that. They've been in there this entire year, and this is the first time I've mentioned it.
I think you said that. You said it last time.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
So this year, what am I doing? Mike, what is your problem? You stupid idiot.
Well, you're not wrong, Mike. You're okay.
So our next movie is going to be on Hulu. It is a film starring Jack Nicholson, Benicio del Toro, Patricia Clarkson, and Bo Daniels, as well as Aaron Eckhart's in there. It is directed by Sean Penn, written by Friedrich Dürrenmatt, based on the book by him at least, Jerzy Kromolowski, and Mary Olsen Kromolowski, and it is called The Pledge.
Jerry, for Christ's sake, you're retiring.
Well, I'm trying to fit all the pieces together, fill in the gaps. You did have a daughter that went missing 3 years ago, didn't you?
Thought you were supposed to be fishing.
Need more time on this.
No offense, but you're retired. You don't work here anymore.
Jimmy drew a picture of a giant.
She called him the wizard. He was as big as a mountain.
I have reason to believe that she was meeting with this man seen here, and you see this big black car?
Come on, Jerry. You gotta start getting on with your life.
I made a promise, Eric. You're old enough to remember when that meant something.
The Pledge.
Let me just make sure that definitely is on Hulu and whatnot.
It's on a lot of things.
Yes.
It's free on YouTube, Pluto, Tubi, Peacock, Roku, Prime, Plex, and Hulu, if you've got
so Hulu, Peacock, Hoopla, Canopy, Shout Factory TV. Never heard of that before. Tubi, Pluto, Peacock. I already said Peacock. Plex, Freevee, Roku, all the ones that you said. I just wanted to add Hoopla and Canopy as well, just for people who have those. A retiring police detective pledges to catch a killer of a young child. Nice and simple.
Very simple.
For a synopsis. So that is the pledge, and it's going to be on all those nice things. And of course, as I said, that episode will come out May 8th. So, the pledge is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com, on Instagram, where you're Keystone_film_review, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, Keystone Film Review, and on Letterboxd, I'm Mike KFR.
And I'm Glen KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we catch a child killer with Jack Nicholson, and we're gonna beat a child killer up. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? He might not catch
maybe we'll
him.
handle the truth.
Yeah, we can't handle it.
I think we can.
Yeah, probably.
We'll see.
Yes. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.